Today in our hot seat, we have Krzysztof Zdanowski, CEO and founder of MultiLingual. Krzysztof, we are delighted to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for hosting me.
Okay, Krzysztof, so are you ready? Shall we do this?
Do it.
Welcome to C-Suite Hot Seat, the show where we put C-level executives from language service providers of all sizes in the hot seat. We will ask tough questions and get inspired answers. Our hosts today are Inge Boonen, VP of Consulting, and Gabriel Karandyšovský, Chief Operating Officer at Nimdzi Insights.
In one sentence, what is it actually that MultiLingual does?
MultiLingual Technologies helps global content-rich companies bring their products and services to different audiences across the world. We also build and curate data sets to AI, ML system builders.
Is this the career that you dreamed of having as a kid, or what did you want to be when you were a kid?
When I was a child, I always wanted to be a garbage man, actually.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's funny. And actually, one of my early co-founders, he also had the same career. Or dreamt of the same career. I don't really know why. I think it was mainly because of the so many exciting things that I could potentially find in garbage.
Yeah.
And then probably my entrepreneur's heart kind of pushed me to maybe selling them or picking them, or I don't know. But that's honestly, if you ask me about my early dreams, I wanted to be a garbage man.
If you were given a chance to visit places, and let's say 3 different countries, which ones would you choose and why?
I would probably want to visit Colombia, New Zealand, and Iceland. Okay. Colombia is, I would always say that I'm Polish and Mexican at heart. So Colombia is actually, we have quite many employees that work out of Colombia for us. And I always found the Pablo Escobar's stories to be inspiring. So I always wanted to go to Colombia, and I will. New Zealand is just so beautiful. I have a couple of friends from New Zealand, and it sounds like it's from, it's the other side of the world. It's like the most farthest place that you can visit. And Iceland, I've just recently been hearing a lot about Iceland. It's quite close to where I reside in Krakow, Poland. So I will just make it out there to Iceland soon.
How is it that you like to spend your time? Do you have hobbies or?
So I'm a long distance runner. I train and exercise about 10 times a week. So it's a very tight and packed schedule. So I always say I'm a professional amateur in running.
That's impressive.
I also fly plane. I'm a pilot, and I'm also an aviation expert for a news channel here in Poland.
Good. So thank you, Krzysztof. This was a nice icebreaker. We know you a little bit better. Thank you for sharing. We do have a few tougher questions, though, for you. So let's ease you into these. The first one is, what inspired you to start your own company?
So the honest answer is I was fired from my job, and I had to put food on my table. And so out of my laziness, I was brought up in a bilingual family. My mom comes from Canada. I spoke English, so I started interpreting. I was, again, too lazy to translate. So I started interpreting. And, as more and more clients approached, I started then distributing that work to my colleagues and friends, and the rest is history.
In this journey, then, what was the first breakthrough moment you experienced?
MultiLingual, we started as an LSP, and for many years, we're just another LSP. But the real breakthrough moment was when I stopped looking at my business through the eyes of being a translation company or delivering translation services. And when I realized that translations are actually about data, that breakthrough to me was very important because it opened my eyes to other types of data, like image, like voice, like textual data, of course, as well. And this has really transformed my business. And this was sometime in 2016, 2017, when we were at about $1.5 million in revenue. And over the past 3-4 years. And from the moment we've realized that the game is really about data and not so much about translations, I've grew my business to the range of about $30 million that we're at now. So this was really the one that made a huge impact on my career and my business.
What are the 3 main things you spend your time on in your daily responsibilities?
One of the things that I would probably name is, like, in our industry, we don't really have a Google or an Apple that people, like an industry defining kind of a company, right? So my under the showers thoughts, as I always call them, are around, like, what are we going to do to become or to have that industry defining company? One of the reasons why we don't have one is because our customers or the clients in our industry still look at us, LSPs, or language technology data providers, as cost centers. If you think about these unicorn companies, all of them are rather profit generating or product selling companies instead of just delivering a service companies, which essentially are cost centers for buyers. So I'm trying to think what to do to change that mindset and position our company or my company as a profit generating company. Probably the second thing that I can think of is a book I read. One of our earliest acquisition in 2016 was an Indian company. And after the acquisition and the welcoming and so on, I've been gifted a book called Jugaad, Jugaad. Jugaad is an Indian concept. I encourage you folks and all of our audience to explore Jugaad. I'm exploring the practical applications of Jugaad to my business. I won't spoil the pleasure of finding out about what it is. You guys take a look and read more. But these are the 2 things that I kind of focus on.
What was your biggest failure and what have you learned from it?
For a number of years, I was very sick, half paralyzed, and really bedridden. I have also lost my job, as you've heard earlier. But I realized time and time again that these things are only important when you kind of look at the outcomes that they bring. So I don't really have one failure to name. I would say that, all these failures helped me discover the many wonderful things that happened in my life. I started my business because of a huge failure that, early in my teenage years, I was fired, right? So it's a failure, and that failure resulted in me starting what is now MultiLingual. I got very sick in my life, back in years ago. I was extremely sick for a number of years, but that period of time helped me value and realize that the value that my family and close friends bring to my life. So I focus on the outcomes and the blessings that these failures kind of bring to my life, and not so much on individual failures. But if there's one thing, I would say that the realization or the lesson how to look at these failures as future blessings, that's what's important to me.
What does success mean to you, though?
Every venture that you take up, you have a goal in mind, or most of them, you at least should have a goal in mind. So if at the end of that journey, we realize that the goal has been overachieved and the road has been exciting, that's what I define as success.
How do you motivate your team?
Honestly, I stopped trying. I'm just authentic, transparent and authentic. And I think to some, it's inspiring. To some, they buy into the vision and follow, but don't really try to artificially motivate my team. I don't use any techniques. I have not read any single book around it. People would usually recommend business books and motivational strategies. I have not followed any of them. I'm just trying to be authentic.
You did mention before that you've got a work from anywhere policy. Could you expand a little on that? And do you believe that that is potentially motivating, at least for some employees?
I believe it is. People enjoy the luxury of working from anywhere, and so do I. I'm currently in Italy. But if you ask me about, if this is the model that will remain, it's probably very company dependent or job profile dependent, so I can't speak for the wide industry. It serves the purpose for us. I'm enjoying the benefits myself, and most of our employees do get to spend time and work from wherever they feel comfortable.
What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs starting their own business in the language industry?
I'm very open and transparent about sharing my experience, but I hate giving advice. So the only advice is don't take any advices. Just take your own decisions, but use the experience and failures and successes of others as your guidance.
Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us in the hot seat. I hope you didn't sweat too much.
I really enjoyed it. Inge. I think it's inspiring to listen to other C-level colleagues and see what their take on these questions is.
If anyone else feels like letting off some steam and you are part of the C-suite at a company in the language services industry, please sign up with us if you dare to sit in our hot seat. And
for the viewers, this was all, folks. Thank you for watching. Look out for our next episode that will be published on MultiLingual TV and on the Nimdzi website. Thanks again for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.